Pawn Sacrifice stars Tobey Maguire, Liev Schreiber, and Peter Sarsgaard, and is the story about a chess prodigy, Bobby Fischer, who is incredible at chess. He's uh, extremely gifted from around the age of 8, I believe, but he's insane and has serious mental issues. So, Um, essentially, that's what the movie's about. But it's really weird because for a movie that's about chess really plays a second fiddle to, uh, second fiddle to, I guess, what the main story of the movie is, and that's trying to show you how fucked up in the head, uh, Bobby Fischer, Tobey Maguire was. And it turns out to be a good movie. It's just good, and I'm kind of disappointed by that because Tobey Maguire is really good in the movie. In fact, I'm surprised. As you watch the movie, at first you think it's just he's really talented. He just wants to concentrate, but then as you go on, you realize he has deteriorating mental health, and maybe it's because of chess, maybe it's not. But regardless, he just becomes more detached with society, and he becomes even somewhat violent with his words and hateful, and it's kind of saddening to watch. But my issue with the movie is actually the direction of it, and this is directed by Edward Zwick, I believe is how you say it, and again, he puts chess to the side, even though chess in this movie is more used as a device just to get the plot moving forward, but it never really focuses on it, and it's really weird because uh, the main reason why you're even paying attention to this kid is because he's a chess prodigy. And that's one of the issues I have with this is because you don't really the movie like kind of shies away from actually showing you that he's really fucking good at chess. Instead, what it does is that you kind of have to go off by what every other character in the movie says. You hear every character in the movie just tell you in different ways that this kid is amazing. He's the best. He's got if he's not the best now, he's going to become the best, maybe even the best of all time. To quote one character, he says a guy like this only comes once in every 500 years. So you hear all these different hyperboles and thoughts and everything about him, but you never actually shown it. You're maybe shown one scene of him actually playing chess, which wouldn't be a problem if it's the fact that movie again constantly tells you how good he is. In fact, it even at some point even different grandmasters talk about his playing style, and again, you maybe see one or two moves, and that's it. It just cuts away to just different characters talking during their match, and that to me is an issue because if you're gonna make a movie where someone's talented at a certain thing, you can't shy away from what they're talented at. For example, you take a movie like Whiplash, and not everyone's into drumming, but people who aren't into drumming can be invested in that movie because, again, it's a movie like this where the character goes through mental struggles to become the best at what he is. But the movie doesn't shy away from the drumming scenes. In fact, what it does is that it takes those scenes of mental abuse, mental training, pushing himself to the edge, and those drumming scenes become so much more intense because everything's on the line. And that's what this movie could have done with the chess scenes. I get it, oh, it's chess, how intense can it be? But again, it's just drumming. How intense can drumming be? And that's something that to me, under a different director maybe, could have been done better because it doesn't matter what the concept is. If you have a competent enough director, he can bring tension to that scene. And that's a glaring thing that really bothered me. Another thing kind of bothered me was, again, with the direction, is that it emphasizes so heavily on his mental issues that the thing is, the first half of this movie is kind of lighthearted. In fact, there's a lot of quips between characters, and at first it's seen. At first, they kind of show Bobby Fischer just like, you maybe sense, this kid's just arrogant and all that. Maybe he's not too messed up in the head. He's just, really arrogant. He's selfish, but he's not a complete sociopath or anything. And it plays it off as almost comedy. It's very lighthearted, especially with the music that's playing and everything. So when this movie immediately cuts to a scene where now it's supposed to be very deep and you're supposed to take this very seriously, it almost kind of leaves you in a bit of a confusion. You don't really know what to feel because it cuts so immediately, and it's supposed to be the turning point of the movie, and again, because it's such a tonal shift, it kind of leaves you like, what? Where? That kind of comes out of nowhere, even though it's a very serious topic. But if you're going to make a serious topic, you got to keep it heavy. You can't just make every character the comedic relief for the first half of the movie. That's what it does. But once the movie gets to the second half, it kind of finally realizes what it is. And I think it becomes a much better movie at that, because now it becomes so much more focused instead of doing all the different tonal shifts, and now sticks to one tone. It's a very interesting tone. And it's carried by Tobey Maguire's fantastic performance. He is unbelievably good in this. I was shocked. Mostly because he's a bitch in every movie, but in this he's actually just really good. And it's carried by his mannerisms, his speech, all of this, which makes the tense scenes feel slightly more tense. But again, you don't really feel that much at stake once you see him playing the more important chess games, because the film keeps cutting away from the chess itself. It just keeps cutting to Fischer, his opponents, all the other characters' reactions. And that to me really sucks, because it could have really had you on the edge of your seat. But the movie is still entertaining enough. It still grabs your attention. But I never felt fully invested in it. It's because of the direction in this. And I'm not one to nitpick editing scenes or anything, but there is a certain dialogue scene in this. I won't spoil it, but it's a phone conversation with Tobey Maguire. It's all needs to be said. And there's the scene's just edited so weirdly. Like, it's almost edited like a weird YouTube video or something, where it's like, but this editing technique's used it in like comedies and stuff. So this is supposed to be a really serious scene. You're sitting there, what the? It left me kind of scratching my head. But is it Oscar baity? Maybe. I mean, oh, okay, yeah, it is pretty Oscar baity and themes and everything. And I think that's exactly what kills it, is actually because it's trying to be so Oscar baity. It pushes so hard to be this really deep piece when it could have been a much more tense movie just by changing up the direction. Actually, if the movie knew what he was about earlier, instead of realizing it more so in the second half, getting a better sense of direction than just fixing itself from the first half, would have made for much a better movie. All right, let me clarify what I meant there. Is that the movie became better in the second half, but it still wasn't excellent, and that to me is kind of a fault. But the performances were all good in this movie. Again, going on again about Tobey Maguire, he was really good. Liev Schreiber, Sabretooth, or Ray Donovan, as more people know him. I didn't know he could speak Russian, but yeah, he was really good in the movie too. And Peter Sarsgaard as the priest, I forget his name. They might have said it once. Um, he was all right. He didn't have much to do though. Like he was in the movie a lot, but he never really did much. But overall, it's enjoyable, but it's really just because of the performances. The plot, while it definitely could have been there, it focuses on the wrong things too much, and the tone's so all over the place to where it doesn't have you as invested as you should be. It has you invested enough to finish the movie and maybe enjoy it, but it doesn't have you invested enough to where you need to watch it again. I would give this movie a 6 out of 10. I think it's good enough to where you should go see it if you want to see it, but I wouldn't rush out to it. Maybe wait till Netflix or something, and you'll see. Wow, Tobey Maguire can act pretty well, and he's not playing the same Tobey Maguire role. So, those are my thoughts on that movie.